Welcome to Sweet Tea Channeling. I'm Debbie Pokornik, and as always, with me is my co host, soul sister, and our gifted channeler, Susan Hoskins. Today's episode is a sweet tea treat where we take a quote from a previous channeling and play with it in the stream of consciousness to see what new pictures might arise. This helps us more fully understand the nugget and anchor these channeled messages here on Earth. It also assists in raising us up so that we can ascend into the reality that we are creating right here, right now, a place we lovingly refer to as Hoomadhi. We have already opened sacred space for us all, but to help you get the most from this video, we suggest that you take a moment to center and ground yourself. Then call in your guides to assist you in pulling out whatever is most relevant to you right now. All right, today's nugget is from the Sweet Tea Channeling, recorded January 9th, 2024, and aired January 20th. Hoomadhi is a progression of your own humanity to where you dwell together in this consciousness. Even though you are not physically present with each other all the time, you are present in the cosmos. All right, my friend, this is a really big topic that I feel like has been coming up for both of us in different ways in this last little bit.
I love the quote. And I think there's so much to explore about what it means. I mean, how do we dwell together when we're not physically present, but we're still dwelling together in the consciousness of Hoomadhi?
Yes, I keep trying to kind of puzzle it out a little bit in my mind. And I know we've been told time and again, you're not going to understand this. Don't try to understand this. Just live it as best you can. For example, I was talking with a good friend who happens to live in Europe, over there in Europe. And, she was saying to me, she really doesn't want to be on the computer. She doesn't have great internet to begin with, but even without that, she said, I just don't feel at all attracted to being on social media or anything like that. And I said, I know. And yet Susan and I are doing this work together that absolutely necessitates the use of the internet because otherwise we couldn't do it without one of us moving. And so I thought, gosh, how do we do this? Because this is somebody who is so Hoomadhi. She just is. So how how do we play with this idea in a way that helps to really anchor in this notion of living there, being able to go there, being able to visit there, being able to do stuff with people when we can't be with them in the physical?
Well, that's an easy thing to answer.
Oh, I was sure you would know.
As I was sharing with you a bit earlier, I had an experience of yesterday running into someone who is with us on Patreon, but she was disappointed that we don't have an in-person group here in Denver. And I started to say, yeah, I know we're doing it Patreon, and I just had a little voice say, well, why not make a connection? We did make a connection to maybe meet for lunch with some other people just to talk about what it's like to be a way shower, a light worker, and to want so much to connect with others, but depending upon where you live, that's not always available. So for me, one of the things will be these moments where we will be meeting people that we do connect with. And then hopefully we bring that energy more fully into what we're doing together in Hoomadhi as we're doing it now. That's one way. There's a whole lot deeper to this than just that, which is how do we commune with other spirits doing this work together and we're not physically present.
Yes. And it feels to me like it ties really tightly in with this quote about it exists in a consciousness that is above the reality you have been dwelling in before on Earth, in what you previously called 3D. And so to me, it really feels like what we've been told again and again, it is to really raise our vibration. Focus on how do you vibrate at the highest frequency you possibly can, opening your heart as fully as you possibly can. And by doing so, it's like we will float up, bless you, we
Thank you.
will float up to a higher level where suddenly we will be able to somehow see each other, even though we're not necessarily together in the physical.
I do believe that is truly possible. I also believe that what we're doing is creating that consciousness, creating that, what we're calling in the book, the city of Hoomadhi, where we can dwell in a consciousness together that's as real as what we experience on Earth. But we're creating it right now, which means we're not quite fully living full time in it yet. We're
Yes.
creating it. And I also believe, you said something important at the beginning of this. Your friend, for example, who really doesn't have good internet, who it's not good internet, doesn't even like to be on it. We sure know what that's like.
Mm.
And I just believe as we watch more and more of our old systems fading away, we will need to raise our vibration, tune into the frequency where we communicate, because I'm not so sure it's going to be really as it's been before with this internet that's now so flooded with so many other things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is making me think about a show that I watched fairly recently, that involved a fellow on the radio talking. This was back, I think it was World War II.
Sure.
It followed these two kids as they grew up and how much that radio show
Yeah.
meant to them. But my point is this: you never know who's listening. You never know who you're really connecting with anyway. But it makes me think that it's really not that far fetched.
Mhm. Well, I love your story because I too, I mean, remember Radio Free Europe or whatever existed back then. People would turn the dial on their radio to get the right frequency to hear the message, right?
Right.
Well, that's what we've been told we're doing by creating this consciousness. We raise ourselves up, we tune into the frequency, and then you and I know when we get in that frequency and we're channeling the information and we're being fully present in it, we're in it. So I'm wondering if part of what we're doing isn't helping people raise their vibration to tune into the frequency where they too can hear more and experience more of what we are when we're there.
Hmm. And it also has triggered for me again another thought about how often you'll message me out of the blue and say, "What's going on in your world?" Because you can sense that something's going on. Now, that is more common, I guess, for actual biological siblings or twins, or there are definitely people who share that frequency and are able to connect long distances. But with you and I, it's only been in the last
Right.
year, 2 years that we've actually been working together. And yet we've made a connection enough that we often can pick up. We don't necessarily know what it is, but we do pick up that something's going on through
Oh,
the ethers.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. And think of the times that I sit down to send you a message as your message comes right into me first. It's like,
Yes. And then it confuses us because I'm thinking, is she answering my message? But I'm just getting ready to send mine.
exactly. And so let's explore that because I think that's what's happening here. We're used to going in and tuning into the frequency of Humadi together. And so once we do that, why would we not be able to carry that frequency still with us here back in this plane and still have that connection to know when something's going on? Why
Hmm.
wouldn't we? Huh.
Yes. It turns out this is a really big topic and one that took us quite a while to discuss and play in. So we've divided this sweet tea treat into different parts in order to keep it short and manageable. Be sure to tune in next week when we dive even deeper into this topic and call upon Christopher, our guide, to help shed some light on it. Ready to join us live on these calls? Send us an email at info.hoomadhi, that's HOOMADHI @gmail.com. We'd love to have you play with us.